What if the atheist sitting across from you, the one who says he needs proof, has already used proof 1,000 times today and just didn't call it by its real name? What if disbelief itself is impossible, not difficult, not unlikely, impossible? And what if God already knows that, which is exactly why he can save someone who is convinced with their whole chest that he isn't even there? Stay with me for the next few minutes, because this is going to rearrange something in you. And before we go further, if this is the kind of thing that makes you sit up a little straighter, hit subscribe right now, because I'm building a whole library of these and you don't want to miss the next one. Okay, let's go. Here's where it starts. Every atheist you've ever met believes in something they cannot see, cannot touch, and cannot prove with a microscope. They believe in laws, the law of gravity, the laws of physics, the laws of logic itself, the idea that two contradictory things cannot both be true at the same time. Nobody has ever held a law of physics in their hand. You've only ever seen its effects. And yet, the most devoted skeptic will build his entire worldview on top of these invisible, unprovable laws and call it science. He will trust them with his life every single day. He will get on an airplane because he believes, without seeing, that an invisible law called lift will hold 30 tons of metal in the sky. That is not the absence of faith. That is faith wearing a lab coat. So ask yourself the question he never lets himself ask. Where did the law come from? Not the apple falling, the law that made it fall the same way, every time, everywhere, since before there was anyone to watch it happen. A law requires a lawgiver. Order does not right itself, and the order we are standing inside of is not just present, it is so precise that one wrong decimal point and none of this exists. Now here is where it gets uncomfortable for the one who calls himself a skeptic. Think about how many things had to line up exactly, perfectly, for you to be breathing right now. The distance from Earth to the sun. Move it by a small percentage in either direction, and the oceans freeze or they boil away. The strength of gravity itself, tuned with such precision that if it were fractionally stronger or weaker, no stars would ever form, and without stars, no carbon, and without carbon, no you. The tilt of the Earth giving us seasons instead of one frozen pole and one scorched one. The exact thinness of the atmosphere, thick enough to breathe, thin enough to let sunlight through. The moon sitting at the one distance that stabilizes our tides instead of drowning every coastline on Earth. None of this had to be this way, and it is not one of these things lining up. It is hundreds of them, simultaneously, with zero room for error, sustained every second since the beginning. So here's the question I need you to actually sit in, not rush past. What takes more faith, believing that a mind designed this with intention, or believing that a universe with no mind, no plan, and no purpose accidentally rolled the dice on hundreds of impossible conditions and somehow landed on all of them, every time, forever? Because here's the truth nobody tells the atheist. If he refuses the miracle of a creator, he is left with something more miraculous. Uncaused, unguided perfection happening by chance, again and again, against odds we don't even have language large enough to describe. He didn't escape the miracle, he just renamed it and called the new name science. This is what Scripture has been saying long before we had telescopes or biology textbooks. The heavens themselves speak without using a single word, and what they declare is too obvious to argue against. Creation has never been silent, it has been shouting the whole time. The problem was never a lack of evidence. The problem is that some people would rather worship the universe than the one who hung it in place. So now, the real question, the one this whole video has been walking toward. If an atheist's eyes are closed to all of this, if he looks at fine-tuned perfection and calls it luck, if he looks at order and calls it accident, how does God save someone like that? Here's the answer, and it's going to undo every assumption you've had about how salvation works. God does not save people because they passed a theology exam. He does not save people because they believed correctly before they believed at all. Salvation has never been a reward for getting the right answer first. It is a rescue. And a rescue does not require the drowning man to believe in the boat before the boat reaches him. It requires him to take the hand once it's extended. So God can reach an atheist in ways that have nothing to do with what he currently claims to believe. Through a grief so heavy that for one unguarded second, the atheist whispers a name he insists doesn't exist. Through a coincidence so exact it cannot be explained by chance, even by his own standards. Through a kindness shown to him that breaks something open he'd spent years sealing shut. God is not waiting on permission. He has never needed the doubter's approval to keep loving him. The same God who set the orbit of the earth without asking anyone's opinion can absolutely move in someone's life without waiting for their theology to catch up first. And this is the part that should genuinely move you. Every single one of us was an atheist about something true before we ever believed it. You didn't believe gravity could be described in equations before someone taught you. You didn't believe the universe was billions of years old until you were told. Disbelief is just delay. It is not the final word. God has all the patience in the world to keep speaking through sunsets, through ache, through impossible coincidences, until the delay finally runs out. So if you came into this convinced that faith and proof live on opposite sides of a wall, I hope you're leaving it with that wall a little more cracked than it was 9 minutes ago. Because the evidence was never missing. It's been written across the sky since the first morning. And the God who built a universe this precise is more than capable of reaching the one person who insists he isn't there.